it's Mo. It is February, and I was definitely hoping to have this video out much sooner, but this is going to be my favorite and least favorite covers of the books that I read in 2022. We will start with my least favorite covers. We're going to do about 5 of those, and then we're going to do about 5 of the best covers. In the number 5 worst cover slot, we have Murder on the Ss Rosa by Lee Strauss. This was a contemporary mystery, but written for the golden age, and it follows our lead character, Ginger Gold, as she sleuths about on a cruise ship over to Europe. This isn't the worst cover ever. It kind of well depicts the story and what to expect. It's set in the 20s, it's set on a cruise ship, Ginger Gold has a dog, so it's nothing really wrong with this cover, except that I've noticed this trend in indie published works where the cover is a rudimentary picture that someone's drawn of the main character, and then that picture is used for every next book in the series. I personally just don't think that that's interesting or exciting, and I do find it a little bit lazy. So this is my 5th least favorite cover of 2022. In the number 4 spot, we have kind of the opposite, where this cover doesn't tell you anything about the book. Freshwater by Akwaeke Emeze is a really interesting portrait of a young woman who struggles with her inner angels and demons, with different aspects of her personality and how they war within her. So what even is this cover? It doesn't depict anything except blobs. It even gets lower marks for having a fake sticker on it. I hate when they put the prize logos or any other kind of logos on a nice cover, but even on this cover that doesn't make any sense for the book, it really detracts from the design. I think that the vagueness of this cover is a real shame, because I think if it depicted more of the tragic and beautiful story within this book, more people would pick up this hard-hitting and innovative novel. Next up, we have Funny in Farsi. This was a memoir of an Iranian growing up in America. I didn't particularly like this book, and I definitely don't like the cover. The blue with the orange font is jarring. I really dislike the vague reference to Iranian art and Middle Eastern art combined with the overbearing Americanness of the depiction of Mickey Mouse. The thing that I hate most about this cover, though, is the twisted figure of the woman in the center, or girl in the center, and how it contrasts so strongly with the symmetry of the supposedly Iranian architecture artwork. It also has a little fake sticker on it. It's all around just no good. In the number 2 spot, we have a really good book with a really bad cover. This is The Women of Brewster Place by Gloria Naylor. This is an American modern classic written by a Black author, and it is about a collection of Black women living at Brewster Place. This cover doesn't really belay anything that's in the story. What are those things coming out of her head? Why does she look like a weird zombie? This story is about the strength and truth of women and how they deal with hardships, tragedy, love, and how they bond together, how a simple apartment building can also be a community. I do like that this is a truly vintage copy with beautiful age and wear, but it still has aspects that seem unnecessary to the overall design. In our number 1 spot is a book that I hated the cover of so much that I actually unhauled the book before making this video. The number 1 worst cover of a book that I read in 2022 goes to the edition of The Ice Storm that I read. This is a book about 2 middle-class white families in the 1970s and about how their families are connected, some tragic events and some coming-of-age events that happen to members of these 2 families. This is the worst cover ever. Not only does this cover depict nothing that happened in the story, give you no indication of what this story is about, but it's ugly too. While looking for the cover of the edition that I read, I found a bunch of other covers, and they're all equally quite terrible. Even the movie cover, which are notoriously bad, is especially bad. The best cover is this final one, which at least gives you some indication of time period that the story is set in. At least it shows some indication that this story is about a family. So those were the 5 worst or my least favorite covers of all the books that I read in 2022, and now on to my favorite covers from 2022. I have a few extra in this list, some tying covers, so we will talk about some of them 2 at a time. First up, we have 2 Golden Age mysteries, Death in a White Tie by Niall Marsh and The Haunted Lady by Mary Roberts Reinhardt. These are both vintage mass-market paperbacks, and they are so cool. I love the foiling on Death in a White Tie and the kind of cut-out collage look of the cover, and I love how old and, again, well-loved they are, how much they're pretty much falling apart. I love the richness and detail in the cover of The Haunted Lady. I love the monochromatic look with the highlights perched upon the figure covered in cloth. And then the contrast of Death in a White Tie, where there is sparseness of design and you can tell something ominous is happening from the blood on the cigarette case. Both great and creepy covers. Next, we have another book that I only decided to include after I had lent it out to a friend, but this is What Are You Going Through by Sigrid Nunez. I was first attracted to this book by the cover. I love that there's a cat on it, of course, but I also like the really simple design. I like the very plain font with no serif. I like that it's in different colors and kind of feels like a progression. I like the mundanity of this cover and that you don't exactly know what this book is going to be about. In the third spot of my favorite covers that I read in 2022, we have another tie. We have The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones and The Story of My Teeth by Valeria Luiselli. Both of these covers have interesting design elements to them. Pictures depicting something that may or may not be in the story kind of fading into the background. The Only Good Indians has this dark, very natural nature kind of look to it with the deer, and that the deer is depicted so realistically, I think adds to the cover of this one. The Story of My Teeth has some similar design aspects, but it's depicted very differently. These are pictures of teeth, yes, but they're almost in a textbook style design and drawing instead of a realistic photo. It also has design elements within the book, more illustrations of teeth, and dividing pages with a marbleized look to them. Whereas The Only Good Indians seems serious and realistic, The Story of My Teeth seems whimsical and perhaps a little fantastic. It also has a timeline and photos in the back which kind of bring you back and forth from that whimsical to a more realistic time and make you wonder what's going on inside that book. I like that on both covers the title of the book is larger than the name of the author, and I like that the fonts, although quite different, both have a feeling of receding into the picture. On The Only Good Indians, it is kind of a modeled font, so it looks a little bit old, aged, and like it is a ghost, where the photo of the deer is very realistic. And on The Story of My Teeth, the font actually fades in and out behind the depiction of the teeth themselves. In our number 2 spot is Dementia by Russell Coy. This was my least favorite, most hated book of the year, but I love this cover. It's just so pretty. Even though the font is a serif font, and even though it is not my favorite font, I'm not sure what it is, I do like the repetition of the font in the title. I like that the name of the book is on the bottom and larger than the name of the author, but the name of the author is fairly prominent as well, which makes you wonder who this author is. The monochromatic nature of the cover, the dark, foreboding house on the cover, and the seemingly tumultuous sky, combined with the vague, repeated figures coming out of the top of the house that mimic the repeated title of the book, make you really wonder what this book is about. It seems fairly obvious that it is of this world, but not of this world. Is it aliens? Is it ghosts? Is it demonic possession? We're not quite sure. This is a beautiful and elegant cover, and it's a shame that the interior of this book did not match it. This was definitely not a good book in my opinion, but I do love this cover. Now on to number 1, my favorite cover of all the books that I read in 2022. Unfortunately, it happens to be another book that I've already lent out, and that is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I am so drawn to this cover. I love a black background in general as a design element. There's just something so intriguing about the scissors cutting a ribbon, making a break in this beautiful golden fabric, the harshness of the scissors, the solidness of them, the weight of them, that you cannot tell if this is a photograph or a painting. All these elements add to an uneasy feeling when looking at this cover. What do the scissors mean? What ominous use are they going to be put to? As we know, I'm not a fan of a font with serifs, but I like this one in contrast to the author's name, how large the title is compared to the author's name, and that it comes in and out, fading back and forth behind the unsettling image of the scissors. So that is my favorite cover of 2022. Let me know what your favorite cover of 2022 is. Was it your favorite book of 2022? Let me know if you spot any other design elements in these covers that you want to discuss. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!